me, what do you teach? I say I teach children. But what I really mean is that I teach young humans how to be human in a changing world. As educators, we all know that magical moment when kids come into the classroom and something shifts in them around the second or third month of school. They come into my classroom, change the date on the calendar, update the weather chart, and also organize my papers for me. Not because I asked to, but because they've seen me do this every single morning. For the last decade, I've taught in the primary school years across continents from Canada to the Gulf and now Albania. I've taught the American, Canadian, British, and IB curricula in classrooms with different languages, beliefs, and dreams. But no matter where I was, one thing was true, that children learn from what we model. You know that old saying that our parents, or our grandparents for some of us, that children don't do as I do, but do as I say? Well, did you know that children rarely do as we say and always do as we do? They're watching our every move. They're like tiny detectives. They are watching how we talk to them, how we talk to each other, and how we handle conflict, frustration, happiness, and even unexpected situations. Now, this is observational learning. And don't get me wrong, experiential learning is just as important too. It's where kids learn from play, hands-on experiences. But what children observe on a daily basis is foundational and embedded in their subconscious, and so forming lifelong habits and ways of thinking. Now, what they see modeled on a daily basis is far more influential on their behavior than any lesson we teach. This year, a social media trend came about called 6-7, and I'm sure you've heard of it. And if you haven't, don't worry about it. This trend is nonsensical slang used by Generation Alpha, where it has no fixed meaning, the children find it funny, and they use it as a symbol of social connection. Now, I was at crossroads. Do I react or do I respond? One is impulsive, and the other is intentionally thoughtful. So I had to think about that. And for a few days, I let them have their fun. And after that, I decided to create a math activity where all the answers were 6, 7, or 6, 7. And even better than that, that same day, I walked past another teacher's classroom, and I even heard her turn it into an attention grabber, where she was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then she allowed them to say 6, 7 in that exact dramatic tone of voice that was used by the internet trend. Now, after that, I lightheartedly and jokingly told the students that if I were to hear it one more time, I will be sending 6 messages home and 7 timeouts. Well, whether it's that trend or another, or an interesting, memorable water day, the children were learning how to creative problem solve, be patient, be playful, and self-regulate because of how I chose to respond. Which means that observational learning happens at school and in the classroom. But that doesn't stop there. It extends to society. Which reminds me of a trip to Tirana. But before boarding the bus, the students were waiting, and an elderly man falls off a bike nearby. And their eyes were open and wide with curiosity and confusion. They were watching to see what would happen next. And so, as my teacher assistant supervised the students, I went ahead and helped the man. People passing by came and helped as well. I have never seen my students this silent, and I mean never. So they didn't need any words at that moment because it was all being said with actions. In that moment, they were learning empathy and a sense of community that was happening right in front of their eyes. In that sense, another trip that is really dear to my heart is a trip to the city of Durrës, where you've probably seen this flute performer who regularly sits there playing his sweet melodies over and over. And I noticed one of my students during their picnic comes up to me and asks me if I could walk with her to this man, to give him a coin. And in that moment, my heart melted because I could see very clearly that she had absorbed her family's values and was naturally carrying them into the world. From there, we can see that children watch us at home, in the streets, and even online. Now, in an age of technology that we are in, there are many platforms online which are the biggest amplified form of observational learning. And they are watching us, they are mimicking adults, parents, siblings, and influencers on there. So, in that sense, they see how we scroll. They are watching us use videos and AI tools, and they are watching us navigate through life. So we could see that every action we make sends a signal for what matters, what is urgent, and how to navigate life. And one of my students carries this acutely, where he comes to school regularly updating us about global events. And I could crystal clear see that this was a value from his family and a habit that he was bringing into the classroom. As Albert Bandura says, who is a psychologist who introduced the social learning theory, and he says that children copy what we do way before they understand anything, okay? And so, how can we prepare for a future we cannot predict? Well, we have to begin by teaching students how to think and not what to think. We should also begin by educating ourselves and modeling critical thinking, intentional action, and informed decision-making. When I began teaching, I thought my job was to deliver information. Now I know my job is to model transformation. Every generation thinks the next one is unprepared, but maybe they're not unprepared. Maybe we are preparing them for our world instead of theirs. Our responsibility is to shape mindsets. And so, in order to do that, textbooks are not the way. It is how we, the adults, the parents, the siblings, and the educators show up every day and how we listen, lead, and respond. And so, the future doesn't belong to the smartest. It belongs to those who can adapt, evolve, and innovate.